We got a special one today. We got a brand new tail wing from Lift Foils, and we're gonna dive into how to pick the right tail wing for you. So we got an exciting one. We're gonna dive into, here's some different tail wings. The 26 Carve, the 32 Glide, and a brand new 31 Flow. And you can see the fuselages are different. And we're gonna dive into why this is, what's the difference, and which one's perfect for you. And we have Evan Nesh, who's a total legend, rock star, and knows everything about it. So let's dive into it. I'm gonna give you the 26 Carve. We have the 36 Glide, and we have the brand new 31 Flow. And if you look at them closely, you're gonna see that the 31 Flow has a longer fuselage, the Glide is a little bit shorter, and the Carve is a lot shorter. So, Evan, how do you pick the right back wing for whatever you're doing?
I would definitely say I don't know everything about tail wings. It's one of those things that's always surprised me, honestly, for like what a huge difference it makes. And like I've ridden foils and I ride it with a tail wing and I'm like, I don't know if I like that. Then I put a different tail wing on it. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like the best foil front wing I've ever used. So I will say, like, it's worth trying for yourself to see the difference, because it is just really shocking how big of a difference the tail makes. But I would say, you know, there's a few basic principles. Obviously, the larger the tail, the more stability you have, you get more drag with that. The shorter the fuselage you have, the tighter the turning radius, but it's gonna be a little less stable, a little more pitch sensitive.
And so which one of the Lift wings would be the shortest fuselage?
Yeah, so the Carve, as the name kind of indicates, is turnier, looser, carvier, so that comes with a shorter fuselage. The Flow is the opposite of that, with the longest fuselage, so that's going to kind of have a more drawn out pump cadence, maybe a more drawn out turn. And then the Glide tail,
maybe for downwinding, maybe for towing, maybe for more stability, maybe even on your e-foil for more locked in.
Yeah, I would say this is kind of like, you know, smaller tail, longer fuselage, so less drag, but more stability. Where this is, you know, smaller or larger tail, shorter fuselage, really looking at turning performance. And then the Glide is kind of that middle length fuselage. And it's kind of a little bit of a balance of both, honestly. But then a large thing to look at too is kind of like the angle of attack of that front wing, right? Mm-hmm. So the Carve and the Flow have a little more angle to it. It's going to push up a little harder on your front foot, maybe have a little more of a surfier front foot feel, where the Glide is going to be a little bit of a flatter tail, kind of a little more efficiency in the fact that it is a flatter profile, which means you can kind of go a little bigger with it without inducing as much drag, I guess.
So in theory, a lot of people talk about this. To break it down really easy, the shorter the fuselage, the more pitch sensitive it's going to be. The longer the fuselage, the more stability. As Evan said as well, the larger the tail wing, larger as in the size of it in the back, is going to give you in general more stability. But saying that, the reason why this magical brand new Flow is running a little bit of a smaller tail wing, this is the biggest one, the 31, and it comes into 21. When you increase the fuselage length, you actually in general can go smaller in the back, because it's kind of doing the same thing. If I went shorter and thicker, you kind of have that similar feel.
Yeah, you've got more leverage, right? So like a smaller tail wing further back is going to be a little more balanced, but it's not going to induce as much drag, right? And obviously all of these come in a variety of sizes, and you can kind of pair that with your body size or how much stability you want or how much drag you're willing to induce.
So the goal of this was to say, look, if I'm e-foiling, I'm new to things, I would go with stability. So stability is going to be maybe a longer fuselage, a larger back wing. If I'm looking for a little more performance, or I want to take, maybe I have a 200 wing and I'm ready for, I see all these pros riding these tiny little performance wings. Really, I could just change my back wing to maybe a Carve, and it's going to change that 200 and make it much more reactive. Your roll is still going to be a 200, but your pitch sensitivity of, I can start the roll and I can make it turn real quick with, for instance, like a Carve, or for instance, maybe I'm downwinding, or I'm looking for distance and I'm going tons of miles. I may want to go with the Flow, because I don't want all that twitchy for 15 miles. I want to be locked in, super mellow, super stable, and nice and easy.
And I think what I'm hearing too is, like, you know, you're not necessarily saying, I like the Carve best or I like the Flow best. It kind of depends on the application and what you're doing, right? And like, you know, I love the 26 Carve. That's one of my favorite wings. The 20 Carve is also one of my favorite wings on, say, the 150 Surf V2. really makes it loose, makes it pump a little better. But you know, the 20 carve for me starts to feel a little bit twitchy if I'm on a small wing going fast, and I go back to the 26. Or if I'm on the E-foil, I personally really don't like the 20 carve. It's way too twitchy, and I'm gonna go right to that 31 glide, or sorry, 31 glide, 36 glide. Or if I'm on the high aspect, like X-wings, I want something that's gonna kind of have less drag, but pump well, and then I'm on the flow. So it really depends what you're doing, and I'm not gonna say one tail's better for you or better for me. It really depends on the application.
Yeah, so hopefully, in general, hopefully the goal of this was to give you guys a little bit of, obviously there's many carves, there's many glides, there's many flows, but the goal was to give you guys a little general kind of concept on fuselage length, and that's kind of a lot of the differences with a lot of these tail wings and what it changes. Not to mention Lift Foils also makes an extender, which you can extend a carve and make it longer, or you can extend a flow and make it even longer. So a lot of these are pretty cool. There's a lot of versatility in this, and hopefully this kind of helps you, give you a general idea of what you may want for maybe your e-foiling, your wing foiling, your prone, your downwinding. I would say general note, I would kind of go with the flow for maybe more downwinding, more long pump strides. Glide, carve, I'd be looking for tight turns, more pitch sensitive. Glide, love this wing on an e-foil. It's really stable, really predictable. But again, all these can be changed in different ways, but that's just kind of my opinion.
And I think another cool thing to note is, you mentioned the 3-inch extender. I think that was kind of the birth of the flow, right? Like a lot of people were liking this carve, liking that higher angle of attack on that for downwinding. And so I believe, Lift kind of looked at that and said, let's kind of build that extra length of the fuselage directly into the tail wing. And hey, while we're at it, let's make it a little higher aspect to make it a little more efficient and kind of really position it towards kind of that downwinding specific tail. And so I really kind of believe that's where the flow came in.
Yep, 100%. And I'd say, don't be afraid out there. A lot of people are always like, I need to change my front wing. Man, changing your back wing can make your front wing completely different. Get yours now at wingfoilprocenter.com, and we'll see you on the water. So thank you so much, and remember, keep trying, don't give up. We're here for you, and hopefully we get to see you on the water.